Hello and welcome to the May 30th, 2025 edition of the Mr. Joe Bipolar Podcast. My name is Mr. Joe. This is my neighborhood. This is my life. But this is our podcast journey. Welcome to the Mr. Joe Bipolar Podcast. Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Joe Bipolar Podcast. My name is Mr. Joe, and it is absolutely awesome to have everybody here with me today. And of course, it's always wonderful to be out there with you as well. I wasn't sure if my voice was going to even work upon hitting the record button today. And I don't mean like I lost my voice. I mean, you know when you wake up in the morning and you just feel like you can't speak? That's how I feel. I feel like, there's nobody to talk to in the morning, to be honest with you. When I go to the gym, I don't say a single word to anybody except for when I walk through the door, I say good morning, which is probably more than what most people do, or at least more than what the children / kids / young adults do. They don't even say hello sometimes, okay? And to be quite honest with you, the only ones who say thank you and hold the door for me are older people or people my age. So we'll get into that in a second. I don't even want to get started with that one right now, because for the most part, I believe that's what prompted my episode today, if I'm being quite honest with you. Basically, because of a situation that took place yesterday. And it wasn't any kind of situation that was different than any other one that I've experienced over the course of the last, let's say 5 years, which is quite disturbing, but we'll certainly get into that in a moment, okay? I think you'll find this to be a very interesting episode, because quite honestly, I think as I speak about it, I am going to find it interesting as well. Just basically, I feel like I got to get a few things out, guys, because I don't know the answers to a lot of these questions that I'm going to pose to not only myself, but of course the neighborhood out there. And maybe you guys can, reach out, talk to me, let me know your feelings. And of course, the only way that you could do that is by emailing me at mrjoe@yahoo.com. Oh, no, that's wrong. mrjoebp@yahoo.com. And sometimes I think I'm so cool the way I'm going to flow into things, and I come up with these little segues, and then of course I screw it up. But nevertheless, my email address is mrjoebp@yahoo.com. That's mrjoebp. If you want to visit my website, it's mrjoe.podbean.com. That Mr. Joe is misterjoe.podbean.com. There's a donations and support button on my website. If you click it, it'll take you to a cute little other page, and you can donate any amount of money that you want to the Mr. Joe Bipolar Podcast. And of course, if you have no money at all, kind of like somebody I know, don't worry, Mr. Joe's Bipolar Podcast will always be offered for free. We have a wonderful website out there if you are interested in microdosing through SoulCybin. The name of the website and company is SoulCybin. Go to this address, soulcybin.org/MrJoeBP. That's SoulCybin.org/MrJoeBP. Put on the coupon code, or put in the coupon code at the end, all capital letters, MRJOEBP, and you'll get yourself 15% off your purchase. There is also another company called Gas Stash, formerly known as PolkaDot. If you're interested in microdosing through some chocolates, gummies, truffles, dried mushrooms, and I believe they have 5 or 6 strains on their websites, in terms of dried mushrooms. So you want to check that out. It's Gas Stash. It's GASSTASH.com/REF/1000/. Go there, check it out, and I think you'll be happy with what you see. And you could go start chomping on a few of those little gummies or whatever floats your boat. Let me tell you something else. Talking about chomping on. My goodness, guys, we haven't spoken about marijuana in quite some time. And, Mr. Joe requires marijuana to sleep without a shadow of a doubt, okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Without marijuana, Mr. Joe does not do well. I think we've all come to that conclusion at some point throughout our podcast history, but nevertheless, there were times in which I stopped smoking marijuana, not necessarily by choice, and of course sometimes by choice, but a lot of times not by choice. In particular, I remember just a little over a year ago when I had to stop smoking marijuana because of back surgery. And I got to tell you, just as equally as bad as trying to sleep with the uncomfortability. I'm trying to come up with these words today. I might as well just knock it off and just speak. Because clearly I'm not, the old brain is not ticking right now. So, nevertheless, what was just as uncomfortable as trying to sleep with a recovering back surgery, quite honestly, was marijuana withdrawals. And there may be a few of you out there that are rolling your eyes right now, okay, and thinking to yourselves, well, come on, marijuana. Marijuana doesn't have any withdrawal symptoms. Well, let me tell you something. If you are a marijuana smoker, a cannabis user, go a few days without smoking, okay? Now, I'm talking about the ones that have been smoking for quite some time. Go a few days and let me know how things are going, okay? Just let me know how things are going, because I'm going to tell you right now. First of all, I endured these incredible physical symptoms in which I would sleep at night, but I really wouldn't sleep. And then when I finally fell asleep, I would sweat to death. I mean, literally sweat to death. And on top of that, my dreams were so disturbing. In all my life, I had never recalled any dreams that were so vivid as to when I had quit using cannabis for that short period of time. And it was crazy, guys. It was crazy. I couldn't sleep. I literally couldn't sleep. When I was sleeping but not sleeping, I felt that feeling where, your eyes are closed, you're supposed to be in a sleep, but you kind of feel like you're awake. And then at some point I would pass out completely, and I would be in this dark, deep sleep in which then the nightmares started to occur. And, I say nightmares because I'd say 90% of the time they were nightmares. So very disturbing sleep. So either I was sleeping but not sleeping, or sleeping too deeply, in which I was disturbed by these ongoing, I guess you could say, night terrors, because that's what was going on. And my overall mood was just complete crap, if I'm being honest with you. Okay, it would carry over into the next day, and I have to say I was quite miserable. I really was. And again, it's not that I'm puffing away, walking around town. You roll down your windows now, within seconds you could smell the marijuana in the air. Okay, that's not Mr. Joe. Mr. Joe is not walking around town puffing away. Nope. Okay, Mr. Joe needs this particular, and I'm going to say it, medication in order to sleep properly. And, to some degree I say to myself, well, it's a natural substance. You're not putting a pill into your body. And it is what it is. I'm getting too old, guys. I'm getting way too old to start battling any kind of sleep deprivation or sleep issues. I mean, at the age of coming on 50 here, I need my rest. I need my rest, and things could be worse. I promise you this, and I hate to say it this bluntly, but Mr. Joe is not passing away tomorrow from marijuana. I always hate saying those things because I feel like it's such bad karma to some degree. You just don't talk about your own death, because at some point you do, and then the next day you're gone. And I don't want to get too, I don't want to get into this, but the truth of the matter is, Mr. Joe is not about to die anytime soon because I'm utilizing marijuana as a sleep aid. It's just not happening, okay? Marijuana does not kill you. In my opinion, marijuana helps you. It really does. And I've had alternate beliefs in the past. When I was first going through recovery, and I was taking myself off the Suboxone and stopping the alcohol, and, again, I'm pointing towards different phases of my life here. Starting the new medication, finally discovering who I actually was and no longer being in denial about my horrific disability. I had to quit smoking marijuana. That's the only way you go about it. If you want to really measure out where your brain is at, where your emotions are at, where you are in your recovery, whether it be substance abuse or if you're battling your way back from a mental illness that has decapacitated you in a sense where, you kind of got to start over. You got to stop smoking marijuana. It's as simple as that. I did it, and I was able to do it, and it was helpful, the fact that I did do it. I did not need it as a part of my life. And at that particular part of my life, and I'm going back to about, let's go as recent as 2017, 18, 19, around that time, guys, when I first started podcasting and reporting on getting quote-unquote better, I did not utilize cannabis at all. I believe I had a couple of slip-ups here and there, but I also reported on those. And I also reported about the fact that it just not was beneficial for Mr. Joe when I was trying to recover, again, from mental illness or from a substance abuse addiction. Now that I feel as if I have entered into that realm of stability, without a shadow of a doubt, Mr. Joe needs the marijuana. And really what I wanted to say was, oh my goodness, guys, I have never, and I've talked about this in the past, but I've never really been one to take the marijuana. Listen, I go to a medical dispensary or I go to a recreational dispensary in which they sell marijuana, and you don't have some dirtbag in the parking lot, rolling down his window and you walking over pretending that you're going to give him a high five and you're exchanging, drugs. I don't do that. It's just not the way it is, okay, with Mr. Joe. It doesn't work like that. You go to a reputable place because you can't trust a god darn thing out there anymore. So you go to a reputable place, and I'm going to tell you right now, they package it up nicely. Either they give it to you in this fancy bag, or they give it to you in this fancy like a Tupperware, a glass jar, whatever you get it in. And on the side of all of these jars, bags, whatever you want to say, they have the components of the marijuana. How much THC is in it? How many cannabinoids? I don't remember what the hell the word is, okay? But they break it down for you. And more importantly, okay, besides the THC content, in which, quite honestly, every one of them seems to hover around 27 to 32% now in the dispensaries, which is relatively high, although they got ones in the 40s as well. The most important aspect of what you're looking for in terms of the label is the strain. Well, Mr. Joe reads them, and I just read them because I like to see the silly names that they come up with. Purple Punch, or flavorful fruities. I don't know. Come on, they all got, back in the day it was nothing. We had regular marijuana and we had hydroponics. That was the only thing I recall having. What was the other one? Kush, maybe? And they got all this still, but everything is crossbred now with different kinds of strains. My point being is, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll read the strain, they'll go online, use the old friendly Google, which is, for the most part, a relatively good source of information when it comes to marijuana and the strains that are out there in the universe. Well, they give you the side effects. They give you and I got to say, most of them are always positive. I don't see any negative side effects. The only thing you're going to ever suffer from, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to marijuana usage, is anxiety. It's as simple as that. There are two types of people in this world. There are people that can utilize cannabis, and there are people that cannot utilize cannabis. And the second group, in which my beautiful, wonderful wife falls into, I'm going to be honest with you. As a marijuana user, you don't even want to be around those types of people. And no offense, anybody, okay? I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying, I'm laying it on the line here, guys, because if you're utilizing marijuana, or you're really not utilizing it, and then you go ahead and give it a shot again, guys, I am not interested in sitting there watching you shake like a leaf and pace back and forth and ask God as to why, you're going through what you're going through, and to take it away from your body and fix your brain. And no, not while you have a panic attack based on the fact that you had one little poke of something. And I'm not making fun. Again, guys, I get it. I totally understand that. I was there. At one point in my life. I couldn't smoke marijuana when I was going through some of my most horrific paranoid states of schizophrenia. I mean, away at college. There was a 9-month period. Panic attacks, nonstop. I sat in my room. Little did anybody know, I would just look at the wall and hallucinate. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my college mates. And let me tell you something. Each and every time I tried to smoke marijuana to ease the symptoms of whatever mental illness was invading my body at that particular time, well, quite honestly, it made it a hell of a lot worse. So, again, there are 2 categories. And for those of us that are in the I smoke marijuana category, a lot of times what we do is we read the strains and we go online and we try to find out what the positive effects are. Does it make you sleepy? Does it help you sleep? Does it work on your anxiety? Does it work on your depression, on your PTSD? Does it make you hungry? Well, I know that I have spoken about this before. And I have to imagine that I'm speaking about it again because we've made that round-robin trip back to the same strain that we probably purchased quite some time ago. In fact, again, the last time I had made mention of this was probably the last time I had this strain. And let me tell you something. Here's the moral of the story. Whatever strain this is, I think it's cherry pie. I mean, I know it sounds simple, but I think it's cherry pie. Well, let me tell you something. Cherry pie makes Mr. Joe want to eat 15 cherry pies. I mean, if I'm being quite honest with you, in all my life, whatever the hell strain this is, I cannot recall, other than the simple fact that I actually had mentioned this at one point on one of my episodes, I cannot recall a strain that has made me this hungry in my life. Do you know my wife said to me? She said, and I know this is a common phrase, but it's a simple one. But man, could it never have rang any more true than when she said it. She said, not only did I have to use the robot meaning the little vacuum, okay? We have it's not a shark. Oh God, if you only knew what happened to that. Advice to those of you who have dogs and a robot. Don't run the robot when your dogs are home alone, because God forbid they have an accident. Now, my dogs don't have accidents, but God forbid that robot, wheels over a pile of poop. Well, guys, you have no idea the situation I came home to one day after that robot rolled through a pile of crap and basically took it all throughout my house. I walked in that house, I'll never forget the smell. And then my poor wife is scrumming the hell out of this thing, trying to clean it. Look, I got it all clean. Okay. Well, little did we know we're going to run it again. It wouldn't matter because, please, it didn't matter. Let's put it that way. The thing had to go in the trash. So now, what is it? The iRobot I have, I think it's called. It's not the shark anymore. Moral of the story is this. Not only did she have to run the robot because there were crumbs literally everywhere, with me not even realizing, she said to me, she goes, I'm telling you right now, and here's the common phrase, you've heard it before, you have eaten us out of house and home. She said, I cannot believe the amount of crap that when I opened that garbage pail and I saw the wrappers and the things that you went to town on. Guys, listen, I don't eat waffles. I don't eat them. But you bet your butt I ate them last night. Not 1, not 2, 4 of them. 4 waffles. I don't even like syrup. I don't even like it. But I took the bottle and I squeezed the damn thing all over the waffles. I put butter all over them. I ate Fruity Pebbles. I found myself every 35 seconds opening up a different closet door. Okay? All right, back and forth, back and forth. Open the fridge. Mr. Joe, I got news for you. You just opened the fridge 45 seconds ago. I promise you, nothing has grown in there, okay? No, you're not going to open the drawers now and find a piece of chocolate cake. It's just not going to happen. So what do? You open the closet and you say, well, maybe I'm not in the mood for sweets. Maybe I'm going to take an entire bag of salt and vinegar chips and shove them down my throat. So, guys, whatever strain I am utilizing, it's a rough one because it's making Mr. Joe eat a lot. So I'm going to have to reevaluate whether or not Mr. Joe should continue with this particular strain because guess what? My 597th time of trying to diet is coming up this weekend. So we'll see how that works. And again, I'm not walking around where I say to myself I'm significantly overweight. As a matter of fact, I'm not overweight at all. I sit at 165 to 168, and that's what it is. And the difference is when I start to stuff my face like this, Mr. Joe's body, okay, for those of you who understand working out, it becomes very soft and smooth, and that's not exactly what we want. It's because our muscles are now being surrounded by fat, and rather than having that muscular, vascular look, that suddenly starts to dissipate and go away as Mr. Joe shoves his mouth with more and more donuts. So that's not the look I want. Mr. Joe wants to have a healthy looking body and feel healthy. And listen, forget about all that. I can't even imagine what my cholesterol must be like after I down all this stuff. I can't even imagine. If I went for a cholesterol test today after last night, they would probably ship me right off to a hospital and say, get this man in a gurney and, whatever the case may be. So enough with the marijuana. One thing we could say is marijuana is a hell of a lot different today than it is as of yesterday, meaning in the past, as is our topic. That's for sure, okay? Because let me tell you something, and I'm going to say it right now. Guys, I don't know what the heck has happened to this generation. I know this. I have seen a notable change across the board in terms of behaviors with parents, their level of support for their children, for the school system. I've seen a shift across the board in terms of the way that we raise our children. And I'm not going to sit here and blame us. I'm not. Okay? But I'm going to tell you right now, there are people out there that have said, kids haven't changed. They still come into the world the same way. And yeah, okay, we pop them out the same way without a shadow of a doubt. But let me tell you something, guys. I have been teaching for nearly 30 years. Nearly 30 years. I started teaching in 1999, 98, whatever it might be. And that's not in conjunction with all the camp counseling I did and all the times that I was around children myself when in fact I was a child, okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, you're a camp counselor at the age of 16, 17, you're a kid yourself. But I was less of a kid at the age of 16 and 17 than a 16 and 17-year-old is today. And what I mean by that is I had more of an adult in me than probably a 21-year-old has now at the age of 16 when I was 16. Okay? I have noticed a shift in both students, and as a matter of fact, okay, as a teacher, I have noticed a shift in not only the students, but our education system. I have observed a tremendous growing amount of difficulty among our students to communicate anything clear. A tremendous change in our students' ability to stay focused on what they need to do. A tremendous amount of difficulty to solve problems, to collaborate with their classmates, to collaborate with their peers, to work together as a group. I see kids that are anxious. And I'm not talking about autism, guys. Autism is a whole different ballgame. I teach children with autism. That does not mean Mr. Joe has not been around typical children my whole life. And you're going to hear about that in 1 second, okay? Because based on what happened last night, I'm done. I don't know if I could take another second. I'm telling you right now. Okay, I'm doing this podcast for a few reasons. One, to educate my audience, but two, to talk myself into not running for the hills. I'm telling you right now. Okay, but I have been around a lot of typical kids, and autism, they are not typical. They have become easier for me than a typical child. And I say that because they are responsive to routine. They are responsive to behavioral interventions as long as you're consistent. They're responsive to their teachers, and as much as they may be in la-la land at times, and that's not me making fun of them at all, okay? I utilize that term because a lot of times they just simply cannot engage in eye contact. Let me tell you something. They're hearing us. They hear us. They know what we're saying. And as long as they're focused and put back into our world, even if it's momentarily, they listen. They listen because we have taught them to listen. Sometimes from a robotic standpoint, which is something that I don't agree with, but unfortunately with many of our children that are on the lower end of the spectrum, we have to teach them that way. But the end result, minus the aggression, minus the frustration, minus the self-injurious behavior and the inability possibly to even be toilet trained, all of those things, I don't know, man. My children with autism are a hell of a lot easier than the regular children that I've been around because, in terms of that shift that I notice, I am seeing children out there that seem anxious, that seem stressed out, and you want to know what? Even depressed. And as far as I'm concerned, based on the homework that I'm watching my children do, okay, not my college kids, okay, they just come out and say it. They're ready to lose their minds, okay? I call my daughter up and she's like, Dad, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing anymore. All I find myself doing is studying. That's all I do is study, study, study. And you want to know something? For our younger kids, there are more responsibilities on our shoulders as classroom educators. We're required to write more intervention plans and implement more intervention plans for those struggling students. We are required to teach all different kinds of social skills now, alongside the academic contact that we offer our children. Academic contact. Oh, God. And, here we are. On top of all this, we have to carve out all this extra time now to remedy the issues that are going on within our classroom or with the students in general, all while still being expected to cover the full curriculum that our wonderful state, wherever you might be from, has insisted that we incorporate. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I can't do kindergarten math. I can't. I'm sorry I'm screaming. But, guys, here's what's happening. The stress level of our educators, of our teachers, they have risen to such a degree now that the end result is you got thousands and thousands of professionals leaving the teaching industry. Okay? I have noticed a radical change in my two younger children, specifically now my daughter. Okay, now my son has gone back to it for a little while, but now I feel like he's losing it again, and my younger daughter is losing it again. That ability, that loving, amazing, astonishing ability to make believe and pretend play, outdoor adventures, going outside like me and my best buddy. We used to take ropes and climb the trees and climb the fences and pretend we were Batman and Robin. By the way, I was always Batman because I was a nasty, conceited, arrogant piece of garbage who was told at a very young age, probably by the age of 5, that you're the one that always needs to be in charge. So I never even let my buddy be Batman. That's what kind of a piece of crap I was. Okay? So if he's listening, and it's quite possible he is, He's one of Mr. Joe's neighborhood fans. Okay, there's that word again. They're good. And listen, I threw that in because of the simple fact that I just can't get over the fact that even at the age of 5, Mr. Joe had this disgraceful view about the world and about my place in the world. But I don't want to get too far gone. But the good news is, back then we played outside, and now our children are gradually losing that interest in spending the time outside. I used to spend hours and hours. My favorite time now is to go to a baseball field, not play a baseball game, especially after not after last night. I'll tell you that much. Okay? But again, we'll get into that. Is when we go to a baseball field and nobody has baseball games, and my responsibilities are to, let's say, run a fundraiser or watch another game that's important or just do some little league stuff. My favorite time is then, because there's no baseball to play and all the kids are together. For the first time in years, you know what I heard them say? Let's play manhunt. My heart melted. I said, oh my God, I haven't heard that since he's been alive. They're playing manhunt. Okay? Instead, what do you have? You have children with game systems in their hands, more or less glued, okay, preferring these video games that, in essence, are allowing them to play virtually with strangers. I find it fascinating. But, of course, what did I realize? Well, like everything else in life that's kind of cool and good, well, we have now caused our children to play these games and become completely addicted to them, with our boys and girls losing complete and utter interest in all of the activities that they had once enjoyed. And listen, guys, teaching children, loving my students, being with them has always been a passion of mine. It's my identity as far as I'm concerned. Yes, you could say Mr. Joe has several identities, okay? You could look at me and say, oh, there he is, the wackadoo, okay? I get it. I understand. But at the same token, I know those wackadoo comments are, associated with comments such as, wow, he loves his children. And I do. I love a child's natural curiosity to learn. I think it's fascinating. I really do. But I am finding that with any kind of child, whether it be I'm trying to teach them to learn something new, I'm teaching them to play baseball, I'm teaching them to behave themselves, whatever it might be, it has become increasingly difficult for me to capture and maintain any child's attention nowadays. Okay? I mean, unfortunately, teachers in schools now, they got to teach those academics, but now they're also trying to develop the social skills that children are supposed to utilize and already have when they arrive at their school, and they don't have it. A lot has changed, guys. A lot has changed. And I'm going to tell you right now, I get it that they're ages 6 and 7, but my rookie baseball team, okay, you got different classes. You got the T-ballers, they're very young. My 8 youth team, that's a travel baseball team. I had them all since they were T-ballers. They're a little bit better, I have to say. They're not what we call the COVID babies, okay? I've finally gained control over them. The maturity level, at least on the baseball field, has been an amazing development for them, I have to say. All right, still not great, believe me. All right, in comparison to what I was, God forgive me, back in the day at 8 years old, in terms of my sports and my competition, there's no comparison. Meaning that I was 1,000 times more disciplined, 1,000 more times into the game itself. I'm just grateful now that I could actually get these kids to sit on a bench and cheer. With that being said, their cheers drive me absolutely insane. Good cut. Now take that cut to Pizza Hut. Good swing. Now take that swing to Burger King. I mean, I sit there and I said, what on earth are they even saying? I don't even know. If I was a batter back in the day and I was listening to these chants, I probably would have turned around and said, shut the hell up. I can't even listen to this anymore. How am I supposed to concentrate? But let me tell you something. You got the T-ball, you got the rookies, you got the farms, you got the minors, you got the majors. That's the order. Okay? And my rookie team happens to be the one with my daughter, who, by the way, is absolutely by far the most matured person on that entire team, along with her best buddy who lives across the street. She is. Okay? They're very well behaved, I have to say. And I don't know if it's because my daughter is such a straight shooter when it comes to school and authoritative people. You know, she just wants to always do the right thing. She's a nasty little witch at times, okay? You can't, she is in charge in every situation and she just says it like it is. You know how many times I have come home and said, dear God, honey, you can't say that in front of somebody. We're supposed to only know that in this house. You know, you can't talk about those things. I can't even say anything in front of her anymore. I can't even say anything to her anymore. But I'm telling you guys, my rookie team last night, I have had it. I'm done. I can't take it anymore. It does not matter how many times I sit these children on a bench and try to explain to them what's expected of them. And you want to know why? Well, first and foremost, I can't even get them to sit on a bench. I'm not even kidding. I can't get them to sit on a bench. I mean, they will sit for, a second or two, but the vast majority of them, even when I have them sit down on a bench, I mean, they're not sitting. Now they're popping up, they're yelling at one another, I want to sit here, you sat there first. I mean, it's insane. And then, guys, I'm telling you, within the first inning, I had about 15 complaints of somebody doing something to somebody else. He's touching me, he's hitting me, he's doing... I was ready to lose my mind. I mean, guys, I walk in that dugout, and I'm telling you right now, in all my years of baseball and playing that sport, never once did I turn to my coach and say, Coach, where am I playing? What am I doing? I want to do A, B, C, and D. I walk into that dugout. I can't even take a breath. When am I batting? I want to pitch. I want to catch. Guys, everything's already set. I'm going to put the lineup in a second. Where's the lineup? Ripping at me like I'm a singer on stage. They're grabbing at my pants and shirt and trying to give me high fives. I mean, it's like insanity, pure insanity. And you want to know something? I figured this out a long time ago. I said, rather than having to sit there with a book in my hand and saying, Bobby, first base, Charlie, second base, Harry, third base. No, I'm not doing it anymore. Why? Because they don't listen. That's number one. So I said, you know what? Let me use a visual. I got this magnetic board that has a baseball field. And next, alongside of it is a whole list in which there's a lineup. And you take your magnetic pieces and you put the lineup there. You put the first person at 1, 2, all the way down. Okay? I got 11 players, 12. Thank God only 10 of them were there last night because the other two forgot. I'm telling you, I would have quit. If the other two were there, it would have been over. I would have just wrapped it up. I would have said, you're on your own, parents. Goodbye. But, you have this little board now, magnetic board. You could put all their names. And instead of each inning having to tell people where they're playing, you just put them there. Well, here's the problem. Even looking at the magnetic board, they don't even know where the hell to go. They have no idea. There's my name, Coach Joe. What does that mean? Oh, God. Second base. It's second base. Charlie, go to second base. And then I look, and where's Charlie? He's actually standing on the base. No, Charlie, move over. That's not where second base is when you play second base. It's in between the first base bag and the second base bag. But you said second base. And then the luxury of this magnetic board, whoop-de-doo. You want to know why? I turn my back for 2 seconds. I come back, and the damn pieces are all over the floor. I don't even remember who I put where. I don't remember. Thank God I put it down all electronically in my phone. I have to have backups. Backups to my backups. Because these kids can't keep their hands off a damn thing. So between the yelling, the screaming, the accusations, the inability to stay quiet, the destruction that they cause. I mean, guys, I turn my head for 1 second, I look back, and it sucks because it's my other coach, it's his kid. He's the biggest problem of all. He is sitting there taking ball after ball from my bucket and throwing it at the side of the fence, not close, about 5 feet away, and just chucking it at the side of the fence. And I'm watching helmets fall. I'm watching bags drop, bats fall to the ground, because this kid is playing like, I don't know, whack-a-mole with baseballs, throwing them against the fence. And I turn to him, I say, so-and-so, knock it off. Okay. I turn around, then I hear the chain links going again. And he's just going back and back. And then, oh God, and listen, guys, I get it. I get they're young. I understand. All of a sudden, I hear I said, oh God, here he comes, the ice cream man. Well, let me tell you something. We could have had bases loaded. The score could have been 3-2 in the bottom of the inning. Game is on the line. They didn't give two craps what was going on. They were jumping up and down, screaming about the flavors that they wanted, yelling at their parents that they want ice cream. Their parents are yelling back. Coach Joe said to sit on the bench. I mean, it is an absolute nightmare, an absolute joke. Guys, they don't listen. They don't listen to a damn thing. And you want to know something? I have to take myself off the baseball field for a second, because let me tell you something. I have observed plenty of children outside of the classroom and outside of the baseball field. I walk around in stores, restaurants, okay, things of that nature. And you want to know something? I see nothing but children disengaged from the world around them. They don't interact with their parents. They don't interact with other people. What do? They sit there glued to their screens, their phones, their tablets. You want to know something? It saddens me so much, because you want to know what I used to cherish? I don't even take them anymore. I don't even take them because, honestly, either one of two things are going to happen if I take my children to the supermarket. One, I'm going to get arrested because somebody's going to think that I beat them, or I'm an abusive parent, because that's what parents do now. You're not even allowed to discipline your child, okay? If you yell the wrong way, you got somebody knocking at your door. Have you been abusing somebody? Parents just don't care anymore. Okay? One or two things is going to happen, though. I'm either going to get in trouble, or one of them is going to get hurt severely, in the sense where they're going to beat the crap out of one another. I mean, from the moment we walk in the store, they're fighting. And it saddens me, because I cherish those moments. I was, thank God, even able to do it with my older children. Thank goodness. But man, I used to love taking my kids to shopping trips and turning those trips into a teachable moment. From the very front of the shopping cart, okay? One of them would sit in the front, one of them would sit in the back. Yeah, the fight would go on, who's sitting where, but it ended usually pretty quickly with my older children. And what did they do sitting in the front of that cart? Very much similar to what I did with my younger son when we used to wheel him around the neighborhood. Okay, because my kids are a hell of a lot better. God forgive me, I have to say it. They are a little bit different than most of the children out there. And that's only because I instill it in them in a way that most parents do not. With that being said, I am just as guilty as most of you out there in terms of the electronics. I mean, I have Alexa coming on the loudspeaker at 8 o'clock telling to put the electronics away. And I don't even follow the rule. But from the front of a shopping cart, not only myself, but my older children, when they were young, they learned their vocabulary words. They learned their colors, their counting, how to greet people, how to socialize. And guess what? They didn't learn it by staring at a screen. I walk into a restaurant, guys. I see families sitting together. Oh, yay, how nice. You see the family sitting together, and guess what? Each and every single one of those family members, they're completely absorbed in their own freaking device, barely talking to one another. Those screens have become more appealing, in my opinion, than human interaction. Because right before Mr. Joe's very eyes, I have witnessed a growing reliance on these freaking tablets and phones and screens. And guess what? It corresponds with a complete disgraceful decline in their ability to socially engage with people. I didn't want this for my kids. I don't. I mean, listen, my older kids, I remember buying them a cell phone with the only primary intent of being able to communicate as they became more independent, and sometimes if they were home alone for a few hours, okay? But I'm telling you right now, if you don't set the clear boundaries for your children, okay, you don't establish that rule and keep it consistent that, no, tablets, iPads, phones, sorry, not allowed at the dinner table. And listen, I'm not going to lie, okay? My little one, he still brings it. The little brat still has the nerve to turn it on right when he's ready to put a fork. Well, I was going to say when he puts a fork to his mouth. Well, guess what? At 8 years old, the freaking kid doesn't even use a fork sometimes. He's sitting there like an animal, shoving things in his mouth. My God. I mean, and let me tell you something. My kids, a lot of times, their little battle with me will be like, well, so-and-so doesn't have to do that. Okay? We are battling, guys, what I refer to as a technological revolution. That's what I'm referring it to. I mean, that's what us as parents, and as both a teacher and a parent, listen, I have a lot of theories about today's generation. But I even have to say to myself, Mr. Joe, are your theories and what you're wondering about these children, I mean, are they even correct? Because I don't even know sometimes if I'm coming or going. But I do know this, that I don't give a crap what statistic you're looking at, where you're looking it up. You could use your buddy Google. You could look in a book. You could look in a magazine. I don't care how you get your information. I'm telling you right now. Those stats clearly show the negative impact that this freaking technology, these phones, the horrible impact that they have on our youth today. So I have to say to myself, I'm sorry to say it, guys, but I'm going to say it to myself. I'm going to say it out loud. I don't ask myself all the time now, what's wrong with kids these days? Instead, I have to take ownership of the changes that I've witnessed. Because I got to be honest with you. I understand that what word am I looking for? Society, okay? That the society around us, okay? I recognize that it has to evolve due to the technology that we've incorporated to. And I know now that I have to evolve. I can't say to my kids, you know, I can't turn around and say, sometimes I joke with my students. I say, what do you, when they're sitting in front of the screen, some of my kids take a chair, move it over to the screen without even asking me in class. I say, what do you think this is? The cinemas? And everybody laughs at me. I don't even think we have movie cinemas anymore. So I know I have to change, because guess what? I, as many of the children out there, I am just as dependent on the technology as the next person. But I have to, you have to, we have to become more mindful of our own technology usage. Because that usage, that is shaping our thoughts and our actions as adults. And I have no choice, guys, but to share my own insights from my own mistakes. And I share them with, other parents who, if I'm being honest with you, no matter how open and honest my conversations might be, sometimes they look at me like I'm a complete wacky man. I changed that from wackadoo to wacky man. I have no idea why. But my God, guys, you had to see what went on in this dugout. I cannot express it enough. It was, and you want to know something? I said it to them again last night. I said, guys, I don't remember doing this. I don't remember this ever happening with me, myself, growing up and playing baseball. When you're younger, there's usually a game ball. As they get older, not so much. You do something really special. Even my 8-year-olds, I don't give a game ball unless there is really something that goes on that's special. But younger than that, guys, I keep track of all the game balls that I give, let's say I got 12 kids, every game I write down who I gave it to, because I believe, well, then again, see, look at this. Back in the day, nobody believed this. You got a game ball because you deserved a game ball. And listen to what Mr. Joe is saying right now. I'm saying that I got to give everybody a game ball. So I write their names down and I make sure, well, Vinny didn't get a game ball yet. So he kind of got a hit. I'm going to give him the game ball today. I mean, come on, Mr. Joe. You're part of the problem. These children are so damn spoiled today. I don't even know how it's happened. I sit here and I say, I don't even know how it's happened, but again, I think our problem lies within us. Because you want to know something? Here's what our youth loves now and think they deserve. They deserve luxury. Our youth, they have bad manners, contempt for authoritative figures. They show disrespect to their elders, a.k.a. Mr. Joe's older kids. They like to gossip and chatter and chit-chat rather than exercise. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm sorry if this is too harsh, but children today, as far as I'm concerned, they are now tyrants. Not servants to their household. And when I say that, I don't mean that back in the day I was a servant, okay? But I had responsibilities. Do you know, and again, my son is the only one in the damn dugout that doesn't collect his belongings. I sit here and rant and rave about how they're different from others, okay? I gave him a brand new hat the other day. My wife is on the board of Little League, so she's got extra stuff. I gave him a brand new hat because he lost the previous 3 that I gave him. I said, so-and-so, this is your last one. Don't lose it. I'm telling you right now. Take care of it. So I turned the other day. It was raining during our game, and what do I see? I see his hat, not on the floor in the mud, in a puddle, just sitting there, floating around. Could you imagine, like a fish floating around right in a puddle? As far as I'm concerned, our children do no longer stand up when elders enter into the room. That's how disrespectful they are. My father got home from work, man. I jumped up off my butt, ran to that door, and kissed him hello. Every single solitary day. I walk in my house, my daughter doesn't even take her face up from the screen to say hello. Our children contradict us. They gobble up their food like a bunch of animals without you. I'm telling you, I don't even know how my son does it. The speed, he would win a speed eating contest as far as I'm concerned. Okay? That's how quickly the kid downs food. Because here's what we're doing, guys. We are just simply chucking an iPad at our children, okay? And what do? We call that raising our children today. You know, if you're going to give an iPad, man, find some educational content. Not do like Mr. Joe does, where every time I look over my kid's shoulder, there's some wacky person narrating with a robotic-looking man running around the screen. And, sometimes I even see kids with their dads. Us as parents, we don't teach our children enough resilience. We don't have those basic practical skills going for them anymore, allowing them to make mistakes and learn from your mistakes, because guiding them is the key. And we're not guiding them the right way. Could you imagine? Compare this. Think about it. I'm an 80s kid, okay? 80s, 70s, 80s children. Okay, where basically we were out of the house. My parents said, get the hell out until sunset, all right? When it gets dark, come on home. That's what used to happen. That's what used to happen. Now, unfortunately, you can't trust anybody, okay? You can't even send your kids out there because of the wacky people that are out there. I mean, that's the saddest part of all. Even if we try to do certain things to better our children's social life, I can't send them out to play manhunt anymore because for all I know, 3 houses down, I got a sex predator. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay? My kids will probably know because they probably read about it on the internet rather than me. And it's very sad, guys. It really is. And I hope that I come across a better baseball game coming up soon, because I got to tell you again, I know I'm repeating myself over and over again, but my God, guys, this was horrific last night. It was absolutely horrific. And they got the nerve when I sit there and I say at the end of the game, guys, I'm not giving a game ball. They have the nerve to look at me like I got 45 heads. Why, Coach Joe? What do we do? I just explained to you for 10 minutes what you did. I would. By the way, I was going to kill my wife yesterday, okay? She never does this to me, but I was in the midst of not yelling, okay, but semi-yelling at them, saying, I'm telling you guys right now, I'm kind of making up whatever phrase I might have said, but this is probably something along the lines of what Mr. Joe was in the middle of saying. I'm telling you guys right now, your behavior has been appalling tonight. You have made no improvements. And who comes strolling on by? My wife. I guess she didn't hear what I said because she sticks her head through the chain link fence and says, guys, I am so proud of your behavior tonight. I said, oh my God. I said, they were just climbing up the fence to try to get to the ice cream man. I had to rip them down. I have to scream at them from the outfield sometimes when I'm out in the field, if I'm helping somebody, because, it's more of a developmental thing at this age. And I'm out in the field, and whoever's on the bench, I'm looking, and they're climbing. They're halfway over the fence. I mean, guys, I'm telling you right now, if I ever did anything like this, I would be gone. They would kick me off a team. My parents would wring my neck. They would drag me into the house and say, what the hell is wrong with you? But instead, I have Daniel's mother outside of the dugout. Daniel, sit down, like Coach Joe said. Guys, I don't know. I apologize if you heard a little music there, a little glitch. Something happened here with my phone. Listen, Mr. Joe's studio is not foolproof, okay? We all know that, unfortunately. So I don't know what just happened here. It might have been some intro music, but you guys get the gist. I think you get the gist of what's going on. I'm extremely emotional over this topic, probably because I have, again, PTSD from what the hell went on last night. Oh, man, I don't know, guys. I don't know. It was, and again, they've behaved this way before. This is not something new. Not something new at all. But I got to tell you, it was enough last night where it prompted me to... record this episode. And again, people just don't get it. They don't get. I hope the parents don't think I'm nuts. I really do, because, based on what I'm describing us as parents, I take these kids in the outfield now. I don't even speak to them in front of the parents because I don't want them to hear what I say. Not because I'm saying the wrong thing, because I just don't. And by the way, I got ants still. If you listened to my podcast yesterday, you're going to know that Mr. Joe's got a little bug zoo going on in his car or in his studio because of my idiotic ways, my antics yesterday. But here's what it comes down to, guys. Here is the moral of the story. Yes, our students, our children, our kiddies of today, they need to change. But guess what? So do we. Guys, it's been an emotional one. It's been a long one. But it's been an important one. If you guys are doing well, I ask that you continue to work as hard as you possibly can. If you love somebody, if you care about somebody with a mental illness, I ask that you continue to work as hard as you possibly can. And if you're struggling right now with a mental health condition, if you're struggling with a drug addiction, there's a few things you got to do, guys. You got to take your medication. You got to see your doctors. You got to talk to your therapist. If you're struggling right now with your children, go out there and find support from other parents. Guys, it's important to turn on your podcast player, your streaming service, whatever it might be, because I feel like I can help. So it's really important you listen to the Mr. Joe Bipolar podcast. And most importantly, soldier on. Thank you so much for listening to the Mr. Joe Bipolar podcast. Everybody have an awesome day. I love you all, and I will talk to you all again real soon. Thanks again.